Hello everyone, my name is Megan Rebello from Unity College, and my project is on identifying the correlation between changes in human population of Florida coastal counties and manatee mortality reportings. So a little background on this study, I compared manatee mortality data from Florida Fish and Wildlife that was provided from 1975 to 2020. And then I also looked at population data from the Office of Economic and Demographic Research. And I also compared that from 1975 to 2020, looking at it in 5-year intervals and looking to compare human population to manatee mortality. I also chose to specifically look at 5 Florida counties that have the highest vessel registration, so I thought was interesting. So I looked at Broward County, Hillsborough County, Lee County, Pinellas, and Miami-Dade counties. So comparing from 1975 to 2020 with county human population and manatee mortality, I was trying to see if population over time had any correlation with manatee mortalities that were reported. Manatees specifically are susceptible to boat strikes, fishing line entanglements, things like that, because they resurface to breathe every few minutes. They are slow moving. They come into contact with humans when they are in shallow coastal areas, and most of their habitat and foraging habitats do overlap with humans, so I thought it'd be interesting to see if there was any correlation between the two. For my methods, like I said, I was looking at years 1975 to 2020 and 5-year intervals. I was also looking at the 5 counties I mentioned, human populations in those counties in those given years, and manatee mortalities in those given years. I was able to do a correlation test in RStudio between manatee mortality and population, and there was actually an insignificant p-value between the two. But I also was able to do multilinear regressions, looking at population changes to year in manatee deaths by county. And I also was able to do 2 plots, manatee deaths per year and population per year. So as a result, like I mentioned, I got an insignificant p-value between manatee mortality and human population correlation data, but in my graphs, the bottom graph, I was able to look at population of the 5 Florida counties and year. And as you can see, it is a trending line up. So with the given year increasing, there also is an increase in population. And then I also, in my other graph, was able to look at year in manatee death rate. So as year went up, so did manatee death rate. So in comparison, as years go up, population increases as well as manatee death rate increases, which can kind of conclude that population increase could be correlated to manatee death rates, even though the correlation test showed insignificance. So as we discussed, the year versus population was significant, and year increase to manatee mortality was significant. I think future research for this study is important, and some ideas would be to compare tourism rates of all Florida coastal counties and not just 5 that I chose. Looking at all coastal counties and seeing if any areas in particular were higher in manatee mortalities could be important. Looking at other areas, not just Florida, because obviously manatee species are not only from Florida, so we could look at the Caribbean and different areas to see if manatee deaths are increasing in any of those areas. Looking at reasoning for mortality, so boat strikes, fishing line entanglements, things like that, instead of just looking at mortality rates as a whole. could also be important, and just investigating new ways that we could limit mortality to help support the species. I would like to thank the Office of Economic and Demographic Research for their Florida County population data between 1975 and 2020, and I would also like to thank the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission for providing yearly manatee mortality summaries between 1975 and 2020. Here are my references. Thank you guys for listening.